Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much to those who are joining for a second time. We spoke a lot yesterday, and thanks also for those joining for us for the first time today. This is the second in our series of learning leadership seminars. My name's Sue Parr, for those who haven't met me yet, and I'm Head of Executive Education at the Open University Business School. I'm delighted to be hosting today's session and equally delighted to be joined by my colleague, Dr Caroline Ramsey, who is a Senior Lecturer in Management Practice at the Open University Business School. Hi, Caroline. Over the next half an hour, we want to share with you some of our perspectives and thoughts on leadership as relationship, and we hope you'll find this interesting and thought-provoking. Just a reminder that these are a series of webinars we're hosting this week, form part of a wider set of activity taking place during Learning at Work Week, which is running for the whole week. This initiative, which we are proud to be sponsoring, is coordinated by the Campaign for Learning and is an annual opportunity to celebrate and promote the benefits of workplace learning. All sorts of organisations are running activities during this week, so thank you very much for taking the time to join us here in this forum. You'll be able to interact with us during this webinar in a number of ways, and it's good to see that there's already quite a lot of chat going on. You'll see on your screen a chat panel, and we invite you to share your questions there. Obviously, we'll try and answer as many as we can, but unfortunately time is a little tight, so we'll get to as many as we can and follow them up, those that we don't. You also have the chance to participate in our polls, and we'll be handing over to our technical manager, Andrew, to launch those during the course of the next 30 minutes. Just a reminder that this webinar will be recorded and available, like all the others, online after this session. So if you have any colleagues who would have liked to join in but didn't get the opportunity to, you can share this with them. We also welcome you to tweet your thoughts and perspectives on the webinar, and you'll see the details of this at the top of your screen now. Okay, we're going to start slightly differently this time. I want to start by getting us in the mood to think about leadership, and slightly tongue-in-cheek. The first poll asks, what's the most important thing a person needs to be a great leader? You'll see on the screen, A, vision, B, communication skills, C, charisma, D, followers, and certainly tongue-in-cheek, E, George Clooney or Cameron Diaz looks. So if you could vote now, that would be great. And we'll hopefully see the results of that poll shortly. Caroline, is there anything quickly before we start hearing a little bit about your session you want to say about leadership? Or are you just eager to see what the poll results say?
No, it's just I think it's serious. I would like to look like Cameron Diaz.
Okay. I think you're not alone. I see from the polls that there's some other comments along that same line. I can't see the results yet, though. I'm getting a sense that the Cameron Diaz looks is or George Clooney looks is quite popular. Some people, sorry, are saying that they haven't been able to see the polls, but are making useful comments in the chat box. So I'm seeing at the moment vision is quite clearly important, and charisma. Okay. Maybe we'll get the results on that poll a bit later. So for now, perhaps go over to your first talk on leadership, Caroline.
One of the things I often do when talking with managers about leading is ask, what's the crucial factor in leadership? What is necessary? They come up with vision, planning, ideas, communication skills. And I say, no, well, okay, yes, but that's not what I was looking for. The most crucial thing that a leader needs is followers. Without followers, somebody with the most brilliant ideas is only an iconoclast. Followers are needed. right at the heart of leadership is relationship. A relationship between followers and leaders? Well, that's the way it's normally been considered, normally been discussed in the past. What I want to talk about today is a relational view of leadership. Leadership as a relationship, changing, emerging, developing, growing. Recently, research has developed into the relationships in leadership. We've started talking more about distributed leadership, that it's not just about the guy at the top, but about men and women throughout an organization, making a difference, changing, growing, taking responsibility for, initiating, improvising. This is leadership in the plural. It's built on relationship, it's built on moment by moment activities and relating. But relationships are difficult. They don't respond to 5 steps, 7 steps, 8 step, 2x2 matrices. There aren't best practices that we can teach you sure-fired. Despite everything that's been written, there is no 1 minute relating. Relationships are difficult. They grow, they develop, they change, they merge, they're affected by, sometimes they're damaged by the things you, I, somebody else says. So how can we explore and develop relationships as a way of understanding, organizing? Let's look at it from a slightly different angle. One recent study of leadership said, let's make a shift. Instead of looking at leadership as being about leaders and followers, the team said, let's look at the outcomes of leadership. Let's ask the question, what will change? What sort of things will we notice when good leadership has happened? They suggested 3 features of good leadership. There will be direction, there will be alignment, there will be commitment. Leadership in this understanding is a process by which we explore what direction do we want to go in, what do we want to do, what do we want to achieve. It's a process of working out how we align the tasks, the activities that we are all doing. It's about how do we maintain the commitment of all the people who are necessary to make that direction come about. Now, I want to ask you a question. Imagine yourself amongst a group of equals, perhaps 6, 7, 8, 10 of you. You've been given a task to do, and you sit around and you say, we need some direction. We need to know where we're going with this. We need to work out how to coordinate and align our activities. We need to make sure that we get the activities and the commitment of the group ready.
Thanks very much, Caroline. So, as Caroline was saying there, if you're a member of a team of 6 equals with a task to undertake, and you need to work out which direction to take, how to align your activities to the task, and how to ensure everyone stays committed to the end, would you, A, get someone in to decide on these for you, or B, set up some quick conversations to sort out the key issues? Again, we'll give you the result of that poll as it comes in. Caroline, I think there's some interesting questions already coming in. Vision, creativity, all seem quite important. What's your take on that?
But the crucial point to make here is that the vision doesn't work until it's put in together in a conversation. Vision comes as we talk with each other, fire each other up, offer different ideas.
So vision and communication, which I think is borne out by quite a lot of the comments coming in at the moment.
Okay, communication is, I always take it as a one-way process. What I want to stress is conversation being a two-way, a joint, a co-production.
And what about the sort of the power relationships going on as well? Is that does that have an impact on those communications and that conversation?
I think it does, and I think we need to think about how power works, and we probably need another entire webinar to deal with the complexities of power.
I look forward to that one, Caroline. I think we've got the results of the poll here, and overwhelmingly, 98.1% are with you on this one. Set up some quick conversations to sort out the key issues. Encouraging, I think. So we'll hopefully go over to your next part of the conversation, Caroline.
Can I suggest to you that not one person will suggest, hey, let's get somebody else to come and do all that for us. No one will think at that stage, we need a leader who'll do it all for us and to us. What you'll probably do is say, we need an array of conversations whereby we work out where we want to go, how we will coordinate our activities, how will we maintain commitment. Again, leadership here is seen not as the activities of some grand fromage, a leader, somebody special. Leadership is seen as conversation, a relational process by which we come together to build some sense of direction, alignment, and commitment. Well, let's pause a moment, because a lot of managers, when the word conversation come in, think meetings, bloody meetings. People worry about talk. Don't just sit there, do something. Well, let's see how we can manage conversations as an active, creative process. Nearly every piece of research into the life of an organization and the role and the activities of managers and leaders emphasizes the fractured, constant conversational life that we all go through as we seek to work together. Snatched conversations in the corridor, planned conversations in the meeting room, discussions about what to do, when to do, how to do. From the start of the day to the end of the day, we're in conversation. It is how we make things happen. And yet, we spend no time looking at how to learn how to talk, how to have a conversation. I think we think it's easy. I just say what I mean, and you hear what I say. Conversation isn't like that. So, how do we manage those conversations? How do we make sure that we stay focused on the key issues? How do we make sure that at some stage we stop the talking and make things happen?
Hi, I'm sorry to those of you who I think I see are having some sound issues here. So apologies if you're having any sound or technical issues. But thanks very much, Caroline. Extremely interesting. And I'd like to launch another poll, which I hope will be coming up on your screen shortly. So which of the statements would describe you best? A, you're in a position of authority and have been given a task of leading others or a project. B, you're not in a position of authority, but even so, you clearly like to make things happen. So, quick poll if you can, A or B. Caroline, while we're waiting for those results, I've seen some interesting questions coming in about how you can have lots of vision, but it can all fall flat. What do you think?
I think the vision is the greatly overemphasized issue of leadership. The problem is it fits entirely with the notion that one person has a vision. How do we get a scenario where we are constantly visioning in conversation?
And I think that links in with another comment that I've seen about co-production. Is that something you'd recognise as being important? I think it links with the conversation and with the vision, doesn't it?
Co-production is a sort of a fashionable and technical term. Think of it as an improvised conversation, something that we're constantly playing with, trying new ideas, trying to provoke, encourage, and intrigue people.
And what about context? Again, a number of people have commented on the fact that at work, that may be one kind of context that you're operating in, but sometimes you've got a leadership position outside that, and that has quite a different impact.
Yes, I think that does often have some differences between the nature of a place and the work context and the social context. But in the end, the conversation is still the medium through which we create new action. The formal organization, I think, creates issues of power in hierarchy. But even in social settings, we all know individuals who are very powerful and use that power.
Thank you. The poll results have come in now. So 60.5% of people are in a position of authority and have been in the task of leading others. 39.5% are in a position of authority, or not in a position of authority currently, but even so are clearly like to make things happen. Thanks very much for that. And back to you, Caroline.
We talk a lot in management about communication. We talk much less about conversation. Conversations are two-way. They work together. They're created in a moment. They happen moment by moment. I want to suggest that everyone in watching this video is involved in leadership in some way. Maybe you have a position of authority. Maybe you've given a task that requires you to lead others in achieving some goal. Maybe you have no position of authority, but by golly, you want to make things happen. You want to change things. That is leadership. That is the potential of leadership. How can you develop your skills at relating, at working with, at having conversations with colleagues? How can you improve what you do as a leader? Whenever you're in a conversation, ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this a moment to persuade or accommodate? Secondly, is this a moment to open up or close down? Finally, at this moment, do I like what's happening in this conversation? Let's unpack those a little bit. At this moment, is it a moment to persuade or accommodate? Often we think about leadership being a process of influence, but sometimes it's also a process of coordination. Sometimes making sure that my way gets done will fracture relationships in a way that actually it would be wiser to accommodate diversity. Ask yourself that question. Should I be persuading people to follow my ideas or accommodating diversity? Do we need to rush to a final conclusion? And that links to the second question. Is this a moment to close down a conversation, to focus on one goal? Or is it a moment to open up the conversation, to let ideas run? My own suspicion is that managers drive far too quickly towards closure. They drive far too quickly to the strategy, the plan, the goal. When, I don't know if you've spotted, the world is complex enough, it's complicated enough, it's messy enough that the world can cope with a diversity of approach. Every now and again, we do need to close down a conversation and say, no, we're going to do this. I think we rush to that far too quickly. Then the final question, when you're involved in a conversation, is it going the way you want? In a way, the first two questions prompt you to take seriously what other folk want, what your conversational partners want. But you have a right to have a goal, an aspiration as well. You have a right to have your own goals in a conversation. It's fine for you to think, is this conversation doing what I want it to do? Of course, one of the things I would urge you to do is to notice when actually your goals are changing, when things being said by others are changing what you want to achieve. But ask yourself, is this conversation going where I want it to go? If it is, great, let it continue. If it isn't, think of something that will change the direction of the conversation, change the feel of the conversation. Before now, when I spotted a conversation was going in a wrong way, I would do something to break the conversation up. Then I'd come back and see if we could move on from the argument. So those are three questions to ask in the midst of moment-by-moment conversations. Because it's in those moment-by-moment conversations that leadership happens.
Thanks very much, Caroline. So much to think about there. And quite a few comments I'd just like to pass on very quickly. A comment from Sarah saying, how can you capture the value from those conversations?
I'm not sure I always want to capture and solidify a conversation. What I'm interested in is, what action do I take? It's the action that captures the provocation, the invitation of a conversation.
Okay, I think that's helpful. And the fact that a lot of discussion or decisions might have happened before that conversation takes place. Any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think you will always have in any conversation, nested conversations. The conversations you've had in the past with this person, the conversations you've had with other colleagues, these all shape, but it's still a performance in that particular moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline. I think there's still a bit more to be said on this.
When taking action, we need to act conversationally. We need to act in ways that are coherent with the way our colleagues are working. We need to act in ways that allow diversity, that give space for people to act differently. We need to act in ways that are political, that pursue the goals, the dreams, the aspirations that we have. But we also need to act in ways that are persuadable, that allow others to persuade and change us. We need to act in ways that are helpful and subversive. No organisational change has ever happened without somebody being rebellious and subversive. But be careful. Don't be subversive. Don't subvert others for your own ends. You must always aim for that subversion to be helpful and supportive. Not an easy trick to achieve. And finally, make sure your actions are tentatively assertive. What a load of nonsense, Caroline! How can you be tentative and assertive? I told you there was paradox. There's paradox in the way we work. We need to get on. We need to assert. We need to do things. We need to take action. But we need to take action in a way that others can modify it. Do you know, there's even a slight possibility that I get things wrong. There's a possibility that maybe I need to be tentative and allow others to shape what I'm doing by suggesting things, by changing the way we work. Being tentative isn't about being hesitant. It's about giving people space to help us improve what we are doing together. So, there's a small picture of how we can lead and be involved in leadership within the relationships we work in day by day.
Thank you very much, Caroline. And there's clearly so much to think about and talk about further. Lots of conversations going on in the chat, I can see. Things around the impact of culture and the importance of informal conversations as well. However, sadly, I'm really conscious of the time on this, and thank you very much for all being involved so actively for the last half an hour. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you'll join us again for the rest of the week and the other seminars that are to follow. We'll be putting up shortly some useful links that you might find helpful relating to this and to other activities during this week. As we said right at the beginning, all these have been recorded and will be available online shortly. But for those of you who are planning to join us tomorrow, I look forward to seeing you then. And for everyone else, thank you very much for your involvement today. Goodbye.